Hej och välkommen till Yogist, en podd om yoga och meditation. Jag heter Jenny.
Och jag heter Cecilia.
Hej.
Hej.
Hur mår du?
Jag mår bra. Hur mår du?
Jag mår också jättebra. Och idag är det ju ett lite annorlunda avsnitt.
Ja, det är det. Vi testar nya vägar.
Ja, vi ska faktiskt lyssna på när du, Cecilia, träffar Snatam Kaur.
Ja.
Och intervjuar henne på Skype.
Precis, och för er som kanske inte vet vem Snatam Kaur är, så är ju det, jag skulle säga, yogamusikens grand old lady, höll jag på att säga. Hon är inte så,
så
grand old, men hon är väldigt grand.
Ja, och hon har varit med länge. Så du fick en pratstund med henne och det är, ja, jag har ju lyssnat på den redan.
Du har klippt den.
Ja, det är väldigt spännande att höra henne berätta. Och hon kommer ju till Sverige ganska snart.
Ja, det gör hon. Hon kommer vara och ha en konsert på Konserthuset. Kan man köpa biljetter på lite här och var, skulle jag säga. Jag tror att säkraste sättet är rootlight.se.
Okej, men ska vi lyssna då?
Ja, det ska vi göra.
Ja.
Varsågoda.
So I'm here today with Snatam Kaur, a superstar within yoga music and also now a Grammy nominee for your new album, Beloved. Welcome to Yogist, Snatam.
Thank you. So nice to be here with you. So wonderful.
So this is the first, as I understand it, this is the first time a yoga album has been nominated for a Grammy.
Well, I think that we have Krishna Das was nominated and Jai Uttal, and they are of different disciplines for sure. But I do feel like their music is used in the yoga world. But it's really super amazing that chant music is getting more recognized by the mainstream, for sure.
Do you think it has something to do with the fact that yoga is becoming more mainstream?
Oh, for sure. I feel that, there's so much positive benefit to yoga for people, for veterans who've suffered traumas in wars, and for people that are suffering from poverty. And there's a lot of work that's being done. I know for at least in the United States, a lot of work is being done to reach out to these communities. And I think that the mainstream is starting to take notice of, wow, this really works. There's a lot of effort to get yoga technology into schools and into education. So it's happening slowly and slowly.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, and something that we as yogis experience during yoga. Now we know that also science is following up and proving why and how it works.
Yes, yeah, it's really amazing, and I know with chanting, which I'm very much passionate about. There's been a lot of work and studies that have been done to look at the effects of chanting. In particular, there was this one study showing that the brain itself relaxes, comes out of a stress mode, and comes into more of a relaxation state just by the simple act of chanting. And I know I feel this when I'm chanting at home, but it was really cool to see these studies. There's a doctor in particular named Dr. Satvir Singh Khalsa, who is heading up a lot of research into the positive effects of chanting. And there was also recently a study showing how chanting in particular can, in this one meditation with hand movements, can help reduce Alzheimer's disease. So it's wonderful, and this is something that the yogis have been talking about for 1,000 years. But now, kind of, the science is catching up.
And I think that as a yogi, when you hear and you see, and you can actually see the proof becoming more mainstream, that people use these tools and get direct benefits from it. It's amazing.
Yes, it is really wonderful, and I've always been very much into kind of understanding the science of what's happening when we're chanting. And I'm fortunate because my spiritual teacher, Yogi Bhajan, really loved to talk about the scientific aspects of what chanting does. And if you're open to it, I'd love to just share with you a little bit about what I've learned in particular with the Kundalini yoga mantras. But I feel that this can be applied to other technologies as well.
Yeah, please share it.
Yeah. Well, the body system works in orchestration with the spinal cord being the central channel. So if you looked at a guitar or something, and it has that long neck, and the body itself, it's very much similar in how yogis view the body in terms of sacred sound. So when we're chanting, we're actually conscious of the energy moving from the base of the spine to the top of the head. And this happens naturally with the breath, and the breath moves and the energy moves up through the spine. But it also happens with the chanting itself, where the energy moves from the base of the spine to the top of the head. And at the top of the head is where the connection is made to the divine. And there's a very important part when we're chanting these sacred chants. The tip of the tongue taps the roof of the mouth, and with the very particular words that are being chanted. And it's like a code that gets tapped into the brain channels and basically sends messages to the hypothalamus gland, which then communicates to your nervous system and to your glandular system. And these messages are messages of well-being. That the chants are all about experiencing light within, experiencing love within. And so then these messages of well-being get transferred into the brain, and through the glandular system and nervous system, there's a sensation of, I'm okay. I am light. I am love. These positive messages have such a powerful effect. And also through the medium of water, because we're mostly made of water. Mm-hmm. When we chant and send positive messages throughout our body through the chanting and the sound vibration, this also affects through the medium of water. So it works like clockwork, we say here in the United States. It works very exactly and always without fail. If you really apply yourself to the chanting, that you feel absolutely wonderful afterwards on a physical level. What's happening then on a mental level is that we're projecting our minds to our divinity. We're projecting our minds to those messages of I am love, I am peace. Instead of the neurosis of the mind, we drop that neurosis and we organize the mind into these positive messages. And then the mind can follow into those messages and then bring the human being into those sensations of those positive messages of I am love, I am light, or whatever the mantra is focusing on. And then finally, there's just there's the spirit aspect where it's just about spirit connection. And that's really between you and the creator. But the chants help the spirit to connect with the creator.
I think it's so interesting that even if you don't understand the words, even if Gurmukhi is not your primary language, this goes beyond the words. I mean, the tongue touches the top of the mouth, the inside of the mouth, and it goes to your brain, and it affects you on almost a cellular level. And you can literally feel how the body becomes in balance.
Yeah.
When you chant.
Yeah, it's almost sometimes better if you don't know the meaning. Because
how is that?
Well, because it's not about the mind. It's about what is beyond the mind, and the mind has a very important role in bringing us to our divinity. But once it's done that, then it's really just about being in the divinity. And you can't think your way to divinity, and you can't think your way while you're in divinity. You're actually kind of better off if the mind just relaxes and you can just enjoy being in that sensation of divinity. Yeah.
Do you think that, given the times that we live in, that there is maybe more of a need for that, since we're so much in the mind, processing in the mind?
Yeah, I do. And, I am one I study when I prepare my music for recording or for concerts. I study the words, I study the meaning, and I enjoy that very much. But it's, for me, the times when the chants have their greatest effect is when I can just feel them, when I'm just feeling them and I'm not thinking about them. Of course, having an understanding is wonderful, and it helps me in many ways. But yes, I do feel that one of the greatest challenges that we're facing in this modern day era is that we cannot turn our minds off very easily. We're a slave to the social media, slave to all of our ways of engaging the mind, and that is really the greatest challenge, but then also the greatest gift for people that can actually turn off their minds. And I think it's really important to do that. I feel there's a lot of benefit in daily practice, that having a strong daily practice, having a way to connect with your breath every morning is a powerful way to stop the mind. And there's a lot of things that we can do to, take a yoga class, listen to sacred music, with, our choice of how we engage our minds, by seeing movies that cause a lot of mental disturbance, by reading books that cause mental disturbance, by engaging in conversation that causes mental disturbance. All of these things affect the mind. So, on the spiritual path, there's a lot of clearing out. I for myself, I don't see movies that are mentally disturbing. I don't read books that are, that make my mind uneasy. I engage with books and engage with life, bringing in as much peaceful, positive energy as I can, so that I can face the real traumas and dramas of the world with more of a clear mind. And I think chanting is a great way, especially with music, is a great way to release the mind, because music is a powerful way to engage the mind in something different, a different pattern, different energy, and to bring the mind into something else. And with sacred chant, you have the opportunity to bring your mind into something divine. So it's very empowering, actually, to chant along and sing along with these chants.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you have released some 18 albums up to date, right?
Well, I've lost track, but I'm going to take your word for it.
So at least that's what I can read, that you have released 18 albums, and that's quite a lot, and absolutely quite popular in the yoga world, I should say. I wanted to know how did you become a singer in the first place?
Well, that's a really good question. My mother always sang as I was growing up. She sang these sacred chants, and so I think I picked up some of that from her, just the love of singing. And it started for me when I was a little girl. I would just sing about my life, sing about what was happening. There was a butterfly flying outside the window, my mom said I would make up a whole song about the butterfly. And I think it was, I enjoyed it, and it gave me such great joy. And that's where it all started. And growing up in the Kundalini yoga and Sikh community, music is a part of everything. Sacred chant is a part of everything. When a baby is born, we chant, and in special birthday celebrations, there was always chanting. And in Kundalini yoga classes, which is the discipline that I grew up with, there was always music. And I grew up with all of this. And then in the Sikh tradition, our worship service is totally about music. So as I grew up, I learned the Sikh style of music. And in our community gatherings, my parents were really supportive and helped me to always have a time to contribute and lead a chant within the community. And that was a very positive experience for me. Yeah.
So your family was quite spiritual. Was it always, were you on that path immediately, or did you struggle with that?
Yeah, I grew up with two parents that were very devoted to yoga and meditation. And then when I was 8, my father decided that he no longer wanted to be on that spiritual path and of the Sikh path or Kundalini yoga. And so I really had to make a choice at that time, because he wanted me to not be on the spiritual path anymore, and to join him in his lifestyle. And it took me a good 4 years before I really made a choice for myself. And it was during this time that my parents were also getting a divorce, which was a really challenging period in my life. And part of the reason I eventually chose to be on the yoga path and to be on the Sikh path was that I was able to chant at night before I went to bed, and I would feel better from this place of, feeling, divorce for a child is very scary. So I was able to feel comfort and feel a sense of courage within myself. And I would chant before going to bed. I would chant upon waking. And so this really helped me to understand, wow, this is my path.
It sounds like you created stability and a firm platform for yourself with that.
Yeah, it was really my pathway out of the mess and into my own sense of strength and identity within it all. And I remember, as a teenager, after, passing through that challenging time, I would sit in the meditation room at home and chant for hours sometimes, until I could feel the energy shift and until I could feel better. So I developed this very personal relationship and understanding with how powerful these chants are at that time. And although it was a challenging period, I'm so grateful for that time, because it gave me the understanding and the knowledge and the experience that these chants really work.
I mean, divorce is definitely a challenge for anyone going through it. And teenage years can also be a challenge for you, where you try and find out who you are in society, your path forward. So it almost sounds also that you were looking for that connection to happen, almost a healing connection.
Yeah, I felt that, as a teenager, that I had a longing for a deeply spiritual experience. My mom said that I would, walk around with my yoga books and read them all the time. That was my thing. And I was very much into having that connection with spirit. And, the beautiful thing is that it it was that longing that the divine answered, and I was given those experiences. I was given connection with spirit, and I actually have to remember that to this day, you know, as I'm 46 and I've lived a full life, that really what gives the experience of spirit and connection with the divine comes first from that longing to have the connection. And it's so easy to get caught in the world of, I want all the repairs in my house to be to be finished. I want my daughter to learn the viola. I want for my husband and I to be happy. I want for all of these things of wanting. It's easy to forget the want and the desire for your own sense of soul and connection to the one. So I was blessed with kind of this beautiful childhood experience of how powerful that connection can be when you want to connect with the one, which is essentially yourself, your soul nature, that you get it. You absolutely get it. And really my prayer has shifted to, please, oh God, please allow me to want to love you. Allow me the intelligence to have the desire for my own connection with my soul and my divinity, because it happens. You get that. You do get the connection from what you desire, from what you spend your mind, the energy of your mind on is what you get. So we often spend our minds on fears, worries, stress, tension, and then lo and behold, that's what we get more of in our lives. So really what this chanting is all about, and spiritual practice is all about, is changing the frequency of the mind and the conversation so that we're attracting to us our own divinity, our own light, our own love, by projecting that out into the universe.
What you seek is seeking you.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And so you have to, a very important lesson that my spiritual teacher taught me is that you have to take that step. You have to take a step towards your own divinity. It's not, there is emotion, there is an effort, there is a discipline to taking that step towards your own divinity. But the beautiful thing, and this comes from the Sikh tradition, there's a saying: if you take one step towards the Guru takes 1,000 steps towards you. So even just a little bit of effort creates amazing results.
I read somewhere on your blog. I read on your blog that you come back to saying, I am love, and looking at love as a spiritual force, almost a force of nature and energy that's not so much the romantic love, but the love as a creative force. Is that something you use in your everyday life?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it was actually this summer, and I was meditating, and created a tune for this mantra, Hara Hara Waheguru, which this means Hara is the seed of the divine, so we chant it twice, Hara Hara, and then Waheguru, great here and now, is the experience of my divinity, of the experience of finding the divinity. So as I was chanting this, it really awakened within me what is this divinity? And people call it God, people call it light. And there was this realization that for me in these times of great challenge, that one of the best words that I could use to describe this divinity is love right now. And in that moment of meditation, I realized that no matter what, I want to reach for love. I want to reach for the experience of love in my conversations with people, in my choices, in everything that I do, and that this would take a great amount of strength. It would take being fierce at times, being courageous to choose this love no matter what. And so I actually composed a tune I'm bringing to Stockholm in May, where we'll be singing "I Am Love," along with these words "Hara Hara Waheguru," to tune in to the importance of really coming from this place of love in our lives. And for me, this means taking a moment to breathe, being present, listening to what someone has to say, and finding the way that I can be in a loving relationship. Sometimes that means, walking away from something. Sometimes that means confronting. But there is always a way to love, and that love is what is in your heart center.
Isn't one of the main challenges just the word you said about presence, so that you move from any reactive mode and stay in the moment?
Yes. And I, to me, when I try to understand how to be present, how to come back to that place of presence, how to do it, especially in the moment to moment conversations and choices that come up where you have to act at the split second. You have to say the right words that land in your heart. And to me, the greatest method, which has given me the most results, that's helped me to land into my heart center, is the regular daily spiritual practice. I have a book that I wrote about it called Original Light, about my daily practice, and for people that are interested in starting a daily spiritual practice. But just having a 10-minute practice, half-hour practice, the full practice that I do is 2.5 hours. Whatever can be done by coming into this place of presence and heart, by training the breath, regulating the breath to come from a deeper place, by incorporating sacred mantra into your mind, into your frequency patterns, into your body. By doing all of these things, then in those moments of stress, and those moments where you have to make a choice as to what you're going to say in a heated conversation, and in those moments of life when you're going to make dinner for everybody, are you coming from your heart center? When you're going to pick up your child from school, are you present with them? Are you in your heart center? And having a daily spiritual practice gives you basically habit, the habits to come from your heart center, so that you can be making those conscious choices and living from the heart. And it's absolutely possible.
So what does your daily practice look like? Do you have a favorite kriya? Do you have a favorite meditation, a favorite mantra?
Well, I for people that are spiritual or that are for people that are familiar with the Kundalini yoga tradition, I do a recitation most every morning called Japji, and this is a song of the soul. It means the meditation of the soul, actually. Given by Guru Nanak, the first Guru of the Sikhs, and in the 15th century. It's a beautiful sacred poem, and I love reciting it every morning. And it's the words are so much a part of my life that I've recorded many of the verses in my recordings. And in fact, the first track on our beloved album is Amul, which is the 26th verse of the sacred poem, which gives you the consciousness of how to be prosperous. So each verse has a particular effect. It's really beautiful. And so I recite this every morning, and then I treat myself to a nice yoga practice. To me, this is it's like the best gift I can give to myself. And I'm going to be doing it well into my old age, and as long as God lets me live, I'm so grateful for it. Especially now as a 46-year-old woman, I'm just like, oh, thank you, God, thank you, God. So I do my yoga, and then I always do a chanting practice afterwards, and this combination of the recitation and then yoga and then chanting is a really beautiful way for me every day to tap in. And then I end with a prayer where I actually speak my prayers. It's from the Sikh tradition called Ardas. And then I take a sacred reading from the Sikh scriptures. In my book, I outline for people in many walks of life, that they can do whatever their spiritual tradition guides them to do. But having this opportunity to take a sacred reading is really beautiful. In fact, this morning I took a reading, and it felt to me like the Guru, like the divine was just speaking to me, and that was so magical. Like, wow, the divine is real. And because the reading spoke to me, it spoke to all the issues that I was having. It just gave me the solutions and the healing all right there, and I had nothing else to complain about after reading that. So
You knew.
yeah, I knew, and it's so cool, when that happens, when the divine speaks to you and you go, wow, the divine is real. And now it's just a matter of, okay, how to enjoy this human body experience, knowing that the divine is real, knowing that we have to go through this game of life and the human body and all of our desires and our challenges, but the divine is real. It's to me, this was a beautiful realization this morning, and I felt like, wow, I better just kind of keep my manners, be nice, and enjoy my life, do the things that I love, because the spirit is real, the divine is real. It's watching me, it's feeling me, it's knowing me.
Is it also inside you?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, everything is interconnected.
Yeah. So I know that is many people struggle with keeping a daily practice. Many people want to keep a daily practice, but then everyday life sort of gets in the way. What would be your advice for anyone wanted to start to have a daily practice?
It takes an incredible amount of focus. It takes a lot of discipline and effort, and it's a habit that one creates. On the other hand, it takes an incredible amount of focus and discipline and habit to create neurosis and fear and worry.
Yeah.
and there are many human beings that are quite adept. They're really very skilled, and they come back to their neurosis, and they think these negative thoughts every minute. There's a discipline there.
Yeah, it's a discipline, and it's a sometimes I believe you can also feel some sort of energy coming out of that. Not necessarily a positive energy, but some sort of energy that keeps you caught.
Yeah, it's an energy that keeps you caught, but it's your effort. You're the one putting the effort into that particular result.
Yeah.
And so in the spiritual practice, in the spiritual path, you just simply change the effort. You change what you're putting your effort into. You put it into your divinity. You put it into your happiness. You put it into your joy. And the thing is that most people they're used to fear, worry, anger, neurosis, and they don't want to drop it. They don't want to experience their own joy and their own happiness and their own sense of peace, because that's between them and whoever. But the reasons that people are making those choices vary, I'm sure. But there is such a strong habit, and then when we have the opportunity to drop those neuroses and those fears and those worries, we don't want to.
Wouldn't you agree that's some of these fears that we are caught up in? At some point, we've had experience in our lives that turned us to fear, that turned us to frustration, anxiety, insecurity. And in some sense, it also becomes a defense mechanism, because who are you without the fear? That it means that you are defenseless, and you get so used to it that you don't even recognize what is actually happening to you, and you don't recognize that you have a choice. And I feel that meditation can be very helpful in raising the awareness to see what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that the beautiful thing about meditation, about spiritual practice, about sacred chant, is that it takes us into a state of our own joy and our own happiness. And then once you taste that, once you experience it, then you can start to develop the hunger for that joy instead of the hunger for your neurosis, and you begin to develop a different taste. And it feels good. It just feels good.
Feels light.
Yeah.
Something very heavy, and it feels so good not to pick it up again.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing with having the spiritual practice. It allows you to move on. Move on and let go. My spiritual teacher used to talk about people try to solve their problems and try to work the problems out. And he said, no, you just have to drop the problem.
I really like that.
You have to really just let them go. And I think that's a beautiful thing about spiritual practices, because after you chant, after you do yoga, after you meditate, you just feel better. You've dropped your problems. Now there's always the choice. You go back and pick them back up again, and lots of people do that. But if you practice enough meditation, and maybe you need for me, when I have major issues that I'm working through, I just meditate for a super long time.
What is super long to you? Hours?
Well, in the Kundalini yoga tradition, there are these courses called White Tantric Yoga, which are day-long courses. Sometimes they're 3 days long at summer and winter solstice. There's the European Yoga Festival, Kundalini European Yoga Festival for people in Europe. And so I'll sometimes sit there for 3 days just meditating, and it's a wonderful thing.
we actually have the White Tantra coming up in Sweden on February 16th. It always comes around Valentine's Day. So it's the February 16th. And I'm actually going.
Wonderful.
I do that every year. And my primary feeling getting out of the White Tantra is that I'm usually very tired. And I'm usually tired a day or two after. But then this feeling of lightness, of ease, stays with me for months afterwards.
Yeah. I've been doing White Tantric yoga since I was a teenager, so over 30 years. And
wow.
Yeah, I definitely feel that sense of light that you're talking about. And it's become a really good friend, just sitting in the tantric lines, because as you practice with a partner, and the energy moves in very specific ways. It's really powerful and clears the subconscious. I feel always that my subconscious is just cleared out. Yeah.
Have you experienced any struggles with your own practice, or has it always come natural to you?
Well, yeah, I did it. I've had a very strong practice, my own personal practice, since I was a teenager. And then, by God's grace, I married a man who also had a very strong spiritual practice, and we practiced together, and we really enjoyed that together. And then we had a baby. And then my spiritual practice just kind of went down into the
It changed.
Yeah, it changed. And I didn't have much of a practice, so to speak, and I was feeling very overwhelmed. I was feeling overwhelmed by being a mother, and at the same time, my music career was continuing on, and I was feeling very overwhelmed by issues that were coming up with our business, issues with my creativity. I needed a practice. I absolutely needed something. And so I remember having this conversation with a mentor of mine, and I had this baby, and we were touring, and my husband was driving the van, and I was in the back with the baby, and we'd go to a concert, and I'd nurse the baby. My husband would take the baby, come back, and I wasn't sleeping, nothing, but yet I needed my practice, and I talked with her, and she told me this really beautiful story about herself, and she had 3 boys, 2, 4, and 6, and her daily practice had been really wonderful, and then now it was nothing. And she talked to Yogi Bhajan about it, and she said, what can I do? It's just so terrible. And he said to her, your spiritual practice is being a mother now. And she told that to me, and I suddenly realized what an incredible this opportunity this was, because I wasn't on the mat doing my yoga practice, but I began to realize that I could integrate my chanting practice while I was nursing. I could integrate it while I was cooking. It was almost like that was the real practice, like the sitting on the mat and everything was like, so that you could do the kind of practice where you integrated your breath work into your daily life. And it was such an incredible gift of being a parent, of becoming a parent, and it deepened my spiritual practice to a completely new level. So I began to really integrate spiritual practice, while I was nursing, everything, while I walked the baby, and I suddenly realized, oh my God, I have so much time for spiritual practice.
It sort of changes the perspective, or the concept of what a spiritual practice is, right?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like, as yogis, we tend to really put such great importance into our yoga mats.
Yeah.
and but actually the real practice, as householders, this is a house kundalini yoga, which is the kind of yoga that I grew up with, and is the householders yoga. I'm not celibate, and I'm not as I have a family, I work. But that's the thing, is that you can absolutely be a spiritual woman, manifestation of the goddess on this planet in your daily life. Absolutely, 150,000%. You have every right to live as a spiritual woman in daily life, live as a spiritual man in daily life, whatever the role may be. That is the gift of the Kundalini yoga path, that I really come to appreciate.
Yeah, just the fact that also that the truth is inside you. You are truth. Practice is everywhere, and it's a natural state and something that you can do and still take part in a modern society.
Yeah, and I feel that it's important to take part in modern society, even if you're not teaching somebody a meditation. Maybe it's just your presence that is helping someone on a soul level shift some sort of energetic pattern. We don't know everything, the reason for why we meet particular people, the reason for why we go places, but I do strongly feel that with a strong spiritual practice and blessing yourself every day in that spiritual practice, then you can in turn bless and have a positive effect on everyone in your life. And I do feel it's important to reach out and also serve people, which is one of the reasons that we have we do our concert tours, and we reach out in this kind of concert settings, so that we do have the opportunity to serve people that may not maybe go to a yoga class, but a concert is safe. Yeah.
And also coming back to what you said, the mantra vibrates within you, but your body is also sort of an instrument that vibrates, and what you put out there in terms of energy and vibration will affect everyone around you. And being in a concert where this happens, that could be truly amazing.
It is. It's really powerful especially when everybody is chanting, and with the music that I've been developing these days, it's most of it is to inspire people to chant or give people an opportunity to chant. I feel that it's as important for me to hear people chant and for themselves to hear themselves chant as it is for them to hear me do the call, do the call, and for us, to be up there on stage playing the music. The audience, the voices of the audience are just as important, if not more, in these concerts, because that the collective voice has so much power. And I really encourage people, through my Instagram page and my which is Snatam Kaur, and through my blogs and on my website, to gather together in community and chant together, because when we are in this collective voice, the healing it becomes exponential.
So do you have a favorite mantra?
Well, I for me, I have the blessing of what's called Shabad Guru, where sound current is my teacher. This is a key principle in the Sikh tradition and Sikh faith. We don't have a living guru in the sense of a human body any longer, but the teachings exist within the sound current. And it's also a part of the Kundalini yoga tradition, although you don't have to be a Sikh to participate and be healed by the sound current. So I feel that the sound current as teacher is very alive. And so in my life, different mantras and different chants will come to me to heal something within myself or within others, when I'm creating an album or preparing for a concert tour. And this energy of the teacher within the sound current is so real and so alive. And I don't question it anymore. I don't second guess myself anymore, because I've experienced time and time again. A particular mantra will come to me and I know to chant it. And I feel it's very true for people that, happen to pick up the music. They happen to listen to a particular chant. They go into a store and, a Waheguru, say, is playing and they hear it and are touched by it. This is no accident. It's not, it's real. It's the Shabad Guru reaching out to this person and giving them healing because they were ready and receptive for it at that time. So I don't have a particular favorite chant, but right now I'll say that I'm meditating on this chant by Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Guru of the Sikhs, and I hope to record it someday soon. It's called Aja Allah Abba Abba. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I am, and it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's really powerful, and I needed to kind of work through some energy and come to a sense of joy within myself after kind of experiencing some intensity with some family dynamics. And so I've been chanting this, and it's been wonderful. Yeah.
So is that how your creative process, what that looks like? You start with the mantra and move from there?
Yeah. If I find that for the creative process to really flow for me, it's helpful if I have a connection with the mantra first, and then find the tune after. And oftentimes, in Kundalini yoga, there are a lot of really beautiful kriyas and meditations with mantras integrated into them. So I often like to practice a kriya with the mantra so I can understand some more of the energetics of it before creating a tune. And then also I like to create a lot when I'm walking in nature. I like to sing and when I'm walking, and this also helps with like creating rhythm and tunes. So my creative studio is kind of in my kitchen and on the trail, and in my yoga room.
But looking back, the first time you were going to record something completely different than yoga music, isn't that so?
Yes, it is true. I had been writing some songs in English, trying to write some songs in English, and the concepts of the songs were from a spiritual place. But it was kind of like this effort. It took a lot of effort, and I kept trying to write different songs, and I got a record contract where I was able to record with the producer, and I was really excited. And I had some, ideas for songs, and I brought them to the studio, and I tried them, and it was a struggle, and nothing was really working for me. And so that was in Los Angeles, and that night I was staying at house of this beloved teacher, Guru Singh, and I had a healing session with him. And I realized in that healing session that what was in my heart were these Gurumukhi chants that I had been chanting, that I'd grown up with, that had gotten me through so much turmoil and struggle, and had brought me to healing and given me joy. And so I had a bunch of tunes that I had ready. I had gravitated towards the English because I thought that those would be the most popular and most understood. And I wanted to connect with people. I wanted to connect these spiritual concepts with people. But they weren't working. So the next day I went to the producer and I said, I know we've been working for a couple of days here and we've done a lot of things, but I'd like to know if you'd be open to just throwing it all out and starting again. And with these Gurumukhi chants, because I can't do these English songs. It's not working for me. It's not what's in my heart. And he looked at me and he said, okay, all right. And I called the record label and I told them what was happening, and they said, okay, wonderful. So, we'll let you do this side project of this Gurumukhi album, and we'll come back to your main album, this English album, in a couple months. We can try again. And so we did that album. We recorded it. That album is called Prem. It was my first kind of solo album. And it just took off. We never had to go back to the English.
It's still around somewhere.
Yeah, maybe someday. But I think as I'm, and I do actually enjoy writing songs in English, and I do that as well. But my core are these these songs in Gurumukhi. Which is, it's cool that, the with this Grammy nomination, that there's a recognition, for what's in your heart. It's a beautiful thing to see that there's a recognition for what's in the heart.
Yeah, definitely. And I truly want to recommend, if you haven't already listened to Snatam's songs, I think you're missing out. You definitely have to listen to it. And I have to also say that I recommend using your music to wake up to. That's what happens in my home. My daughter wakes up to Light of the Nam and magic mantras, or divine mantras for healing. Every morning, so she knows your songs by heart. So I just wanted to ask you one more question, and it's on the theme of heart, and that is, what is true and what is truth to you?
I feel that the lightness of heart is when I'm in my truth, and to ask myself the question of what brings lightness of heart. It's not necessarily what is right, because oftentimes I've realized in my relationships that it's better off to find the lightness of the heart than to be right. To find forgiveness, to realize that the divine is flowing through you, giving you the words, giving you the experiences, and really that my truth is to find my way back into the heart, back into my heart center, and by whatever means it takes to get to that heart center are the steps that are necessary for my own soul's growth and for the growth of the souls around me. And that I have to have faith and trust that process of finding the heart, of coming into the heart center, will benefit my soul and all souls.
That was beautifully put. Thank you so much for being our guest. We truly appreciate it. And we want to recommend everyone to come to your concert in Stockholm in May. We're going to be there. When I say we, I mean Jenny and myself.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. And I'm really, really super excited to come and be in Stockholm. And we are preparing. One thing I forgot to tell you in my interview is that we're preparing to sing "I Am Love" in Swedish.
Oh,
yes,
that we cannot miss.
Jag är kärlek.
Exactly.
So I'm practicing up, and we're going to be singing "Jag är kärlek, jag är kärlek."
You got it.
Jag är kärlek. So I hope that you can come and join me and sing. I hope you'll sing with me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Satnam.
Ja du, det var det.
Ja, bra jobbat Cecilia. Det var jätteroligt att höra. Och ja, nu får vi ju se till att gå på den där konserten, va?
Ja, det ska vi verkligen försöka göra. Jag har hört, hon har ju varit här förut och jag har hört andra som har sagt att det har varit jättefint att folk stämmer upp i all sång, sanskrit, nej gurmukhi, sång.
Ja, det verkar väldigt härligt och vi kan sätta ihop en liten spellista på Spotify med våra favoriter.
Ja, det är en bra idé.
Ja, bäst av enligt enligt vårt tycke.
Ja, och hörni, vi vill ta ett tillfälle till att ödmjukt tacka er som stöttar oss ekonomiskt via Swish och Patreon. Vi är så glada för det och det är en förutsättning för att vi ska kunna driva podden vidare. Så tack snälla ni.
Tack. Men då var det allt för idag då.
Det var det.
Ja, Satnam.
Satnam.